Hi guys, we have another special interview with one of our graduates, Mary, and I'm really excited for her to share her story and the transformation that's taken place. It's nothing short of miraculous. Amazing job to you. So she's been working with us for about 3.5 months, since around December, and has just experienced a totally new her. In her life. So Mary, will you share with us, where were you at the start of our program? What did you come to us with? What was life like for you? Where were you? What was your starting
point? Yeah, so a really brief life history. I'm number 5 out of 10 kids, and my parents' relationship was moderately abusive. I mean, it wasn't the most horrible abuse you've ever seen, but it was definitely abusive. And so that's the environment I grew up in as a baby. And so I've been codependent and had anxiety and depression like my entire life. And I've moved around my entire life. Like there was one time I spent 9 years in the same place, but that's it. I'm 42 years old. So, and that 9 years was between the age of 8 and 18. So my ability to have good relationships has been very, very low because of the abuse, the codependency, the anxiety, and the moving around a ton. So jumping to the recent history, my husband and I moved to Bolivia. I didn't speak the language very well, so I was learning the language. And of course, I had 4 children in 6 years. It took 6 years. In the 6-year time period, I had 4 children. So now I'm in Bolivia in that situation with the codependency and the language problem and the anxiety. And it just was a storm. It was a horrible storm. And I had started getting help from a psychiatrist there for the anxiety, and I was making progress when my husband came to me and said he wanted a divorce. And we came back to the United States. And at that point, when we came back, I stayed with my sister in her basement with my 4 kids, and I didn't have a job. I was in the process of getting a divorce. I didn't have anxiety like I did before, but I still had I was still taking medication and was still quite emotional. And my husband left again. He's actually come and gone twice since I've been here. And when he left the last time, I didn't have access to income. I had no job. I was still going through. I'm sorry. Now I lost my train of thought. I didn't have access to I didn't have any income. I didn't have a job. I didn't know where I was going to work. I feel like he expected me just to go get like this high-paying job that I could just do without effort and still somehow get the kids taken care of. And then I realized my sister was also didn't have the best relationship skills. And I can't say for sure that she's an abusive person because I see myself differently now. So I wonder if I'm creating that situation in my life. But at the time, I really felt like she was being really abusive towards me as well. And so that's where I started. And every relationship that I have ever had was not only bad, it was like actively destroying me more. And so I had I have a few people who check on me from time to time on Facebook and on text messaging. But other than that, my social support is very, very like minimal. And it's been really rough.
Thanks for sharing. That really gives context to being at rock bottom and having a lot of excuses to stay at rock bottom, right? No support structures, no relationships, feeling abandoned, feeling betrayed, feeling abused, no money, right? Kids, how are you going to make this work? And so it's really extraordinary that you chose a new life for yourself 3.5 months ago, and really chose to take this on at rock bottom. So I have other follow-up questions with some of what you said, but I want to hear just from you. what have been the biggest changes that you've seen in yourself, your health, your life, your relationships? What are those biggest breakthroughs from your program?
The biggest thing is not being codependent, and that doesn't mean that it's gone. Like, I still deal with codependency, but it doesn't control my life. And that's like the number one thing. Without that codependency, I can actually be myself and I can take responsibility for the things that are happening in my life, which means that what I want to get happens. So that's the hugest thing. I think financially, I'm still like not in a good way financially, but I'm doing it now, and I'm not expecting other people to take care of that for me. My health, my mental health, my mental health is the only thing that I really think has changed. My physical health is still, I still have some work to do on that, but the impact of having the physical health actually, the mental health actually has a huge impact on the physical health. And so I feel better physically, even though I haven't done very much for myself on the physical side of things. But the emotional health is an incredible change. I'm still in the same social situation that I was before. I still only have a few social contacts, but I'm able to rely on myself for a lot of the things that I need emotionally. And so the lack of social support, it's still a problem, but it's not, again, it's just like the codependency. It doesn't control my life.
That's so cool. And what I hear that I want to emphasize is like, the results that we produce seem miraculous, but they're actually very practical. When you get to the root cause of symptoms, you know what I mean? Then the symptoms go away. When you deal with what's not working practically, then you get workability in these areas. So it's going to take time. Overnight, you're not just going to magically inherit like 10,000 supportive fans. But what I'm hearing you say is like, the difference is that the events in life, some have changed. You're working on them, but your life didn't change. Those external circumstances didn't change. You have to deal with real life. But who you are and how you feel and your experience of life and your ability to navigate it and create what you want and show up powerfully and responsibly and make choices that are really going to get you out of this for the long term, that's what's become available to you.
Right.
You don't just feel better because the circumstance is better. You feel better because you know yourself as powerful and you can navigate and create those circumstances.
Yes, it gives me hope that I don't have to feel like somebody else is going to make it happen for me, because that's where I was at codependently. I was hoping and expecting other people to make the dreams the goals that I had in my life happen. And now, again, that's a very disempowering feeling. It's very fear-based feeling. And now that's gone.
That's awesome. Yeah, and what I hear people often say is, if they're not waiting for someone else to do it for them, they're thinking that somebody else is the reason they can't have what they want, that they're really stuck by a circumstance or people, right?
That's it.
Reason I can't have this. So really good. Okay, I want to ask you a little bit like, what's the difference? You said you were already working with a psychiatrist. What's the difference between what you've done with us and getting to the root cause versus like just therapy or meds or some of those other coping tools that you were given before? Yeah.
So the psychiatrist is really excellent psychiatrist, and he was giving me medication for anxiety, and I had another psychologist, and she was giving me therapy for childhood issues, and she taught me a few tools that got me to a certain point, and then I had to stop therapy with her. So, but I felt from the beginning that her therapy was, I didn't feel like I needed to spend an hour once a week with her. It was a lot of time of just trying to explain the situation to her and not very much time in solving any issues. The psychiatrist himself, he had approached, the reason why this integrity wellness was appealed to me is because the approach that my psychiatrist took was very similar, like very like formula based, like here's what you do, you put the input in and you get out the answer. And so but his job wasn't to help me with all of this stuff, it was just with anxiety. And he did that, he helped me with the anxiety. So but so that's the difference, is integrity wellness covered, and it still is covering, my whole life and not just this little anxiety piece.
That's so cool. And I love what you said, like a lot of therapy, it's talking, it's explaining, it's describing, it's reliving, it's yada, 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 but you don't walk away feeling better. Or if you do, it's short-lived. It's like, oh, I feel really good right now. And then a week later, you're back where you started. You know what I mean? Or yeah, they take apart, well, we're going to deal with this symptom or this emotion or whatever, but they don't get that the reason you have anxiety is all these other parts of life that aren't working, for example. So that's a really good share. Like everything you do to address the root cause, you actually feel the effect. And then it just goes away. That problem, you just don't think about it again. You go solve other problems. So that's a really good share. I know you talked about having other goals. Like you still have the health goals that you didn't address inside the program. That is something that typically is addressed inside the program. But we were talking before the interview, like, you didn't do the program as designed.
Yeah.
And what showed up is that you totally got your program, and you still have the tools to keep working and still accomplishing those goals. So can you speak to a little bit how you crafted the program to just fit what was showing up for you, fit your circumstances, and what those takeaways were?
Yes, right. Because I'm homeless, and I'm still homeless. I'm living in an apartment my sister's paying for me. And so I don't have access to a lot of the same kinds of things that maybe other people who are doing the program are. So I was kind of forced into modifying the program to fit my circumstances. I couldn't do what the program asked me to do. I just couldn't financially, for the most part, couldn't. So, and I started out wanting to I'm the kind of person who, you give me the homework and I want to make sure that every T is crossed like with a perfectly straight edge, and that every dot looks like a perfect circle, right? And so I came at this program wanting to do that, and I financially could not. And in my circumstances in life, I don't have any social support. So I can't take that kind of time. And so what I ended up doing was just taking little pieces that I could take, because I couldn't take very much. And I just take a little piece and live that little piece, and just put it into every spare moment that I wasn't focusing on something else. I would have that in my head and apply it to the situations that I was in. And so what ended up happening is as McCall and I worked together, I would say, this is what's going on, McCall, and she would say, okay, I get that. And it was really, because I was honest, you were able to help me find what works for me. And what worked for me was not doing the program the way it was written. But at the same time, knowing the program the way it's written, it kind of let me relax and say, I'll get to that. I'll get to the program the way it's written. Right now, I need this. And I'm going to be better off in the long run doing what I need right now, knowing that tool isn't going away. It's still there. But let's set that aside for a little while and just focus on what I need right now.
So awesome. And that's real life. Real life is not your cookie cutter coping tool where you have to create that glass house to live in, right? In order for you to finally feel better, or finally let the trauma go, or finally blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, real life happens and gets thrown at you, and you've got to be able to internalize the tools so that you can just do what's needed for you. So I love that you spoke to how that was in the program, and the program mirrors your life. So it's not some cookie cutter, one size fits all Band-Aid solution. It's really getting to the root cause of what each person needs. And I love how what you talked about was honesty. How being honest with yourself and letting go of the cookie cutter expectations and really throwing your entire self and your entire life, real life, into the program was how you actually got your program. And it's different than everyone else.
Yeah, that is exactly how I feel. Like,
Beautiful.
There's no glass castle. There's no expectation for what I'm supposed to get out of the program. Like, I started with expectations. I started saying, well, this is what McCall expects me. This is what Alicia expects. This is what, I don't know all the people's names, but this is what the way the program's written. And I could not live up to the expectations. I tried and I could not. And I know that other people feel like they could live up to the expectations, and so they try. But the point is, the thing that I want people to know is don't do that. Don't try to live up to the expectations that other people have for you, even though it's your coach.
And we can only help inside of that deep, raw honesty. So, and what I love that you said is that the tools didn't go away. You didn't miss anything. They're right there for you. You have lifetime access to find the root cause, create workability in any situation, resolve all your emotions, get empowered, boom, like all of that stuff. You have that forever. So now you just live life. And I love that. What I want to ask you about, I didn't prepare you for this, but what you're talking about inside your circumstances is being committed, getting resourceful inside to do the program, to stay in the program, to get everything you can out of the program, and to be coachable, which includes that honesty. So can you speak to that? That really is what it takes to do a program like this. And most people inside of your situation or situations similar have a lot of I can'ts, or I'm afraid it won't work, or I'm afraid I can, or whatever. So what had you be committed, resourceful, and coachable? Can you speak to that?
Yeah, I can. And there were points when I said, I can't do this. And I wrote you and said, I can't do this. And you'd be like, okay, that's resistance. Or, hey, you're having a breakdown. And that was really helpful, right? No, that was really helpful. But if I hadn't communicated that, I couldn't have worked through it. And so again, it's just communicating where you're at is like the most important part, is just not being afraid to say, I'm in breakdown and I think I'm going to die. So, and saying, I don't feel like I can do this. And the thing that really, I mean, I don't know if I could help other people recreate my situation. I don't think you should recreate my situation. It's horrible. But I'm in a situation that I really didn't have a choice. I mean, I could have stayed where I was at, but if I did, like, I don't know how far I could go down. But I mean, I'm not incredibly bad. Like right now I'm working with homeless people. Like, my job is with people who are homeless. And so that's pretty much, I feel like that's where I'm at, but I'm not in the same place physically as they are. But I really could have gone. I mean, that was my other option, was to go live in the homeless shelter and take my kids to a domestic violence shelter. And you know, it's because of my coaching that I think it's because of the coaching that I didn't end up there, because I knew, I could feel like the people that you want to be in a social circle where people get you, and the people who really get me are homeless people. Because their situation is similar to mine. They don't have social support. They probably have mental illnesses. They have all sorts of problems in their lives that have led them to this homeless situation. And they can't follow the rules as they're written. And that's why they're homeless, or nearly homeless. And I wanted to go be with those people because I knew that I would feel like accepted. But because I was in the program, instead of becoming homeless and living like that, I actually got a job working with them. And so, that's exactly, that was really authentic for me, was going to go be with those people, but as a job instead of as a broken person.
Wow. I want to point out a few things you said. That to you, you had no choice. Because which really you did, but you decided you had no choice but to solve the problem and solve it now. And the second thing I heard you say was you did have I can'ts come up all the time. But because you weren't committed to staying stuck with the I can'ts became the reason why you were in the program, to actually make those I can'ts and break through those, right?
Yeah.
So they turned into the very access to, okay, this is what we need to solve to get you a working life. This is exactly why you're here. It's not an obstacle. It's exactly the reason why. It's exactly how you're going to get your program. So that's so important. You know, we say all the time, look, you've got to be committed all in 100%. That's that decision. I'm no longer willing to continue the way I am. I'm just not willing to go down farther. I can't. I'm done. And to make that crazy, completely unreasonable, completely freaky decision to fling yourself in at 100% to resolve what you're dealing with, right, in a program. So, so that's really.
Can you pause the video for a second?
So what has it been like having the tools you have and the ongoing tools and the ongoing support since December?
Yeah, I have a really great visual for this one. I'm a horrible swimmer. Like, I don't swim. And my life has been, I've been on a raft in the ocean. And sometimes the storms knock me off, and I don't swim. But the tools are like a life preserver that's attached to me, like one of those bungee cords that have an inflatable thing around it. And sometimes, you know, you get stuck in a whirlpool and you do end up at the bottom of the ocean, but you have the bungee cord that's inflatable. and I know that I have had the bungee cord. And so even when I've been at the bottom of the ocean, like, I can't swim and I am terrified and I'm down there and I can't move, but I know I have a tool that's attaching me to a life preserver at the top of the surface where I can breathe again. And I don't know if any of you have your biggest fear in life. It's a way out of that.
That's really powerful. What comes to mind is, because I know you've shared before with me that these changes you've experienced, not just having tools, but the changes you've experienced are internalized. Like, you're just a different person now. And will you speak to some of that? Because I know you're still healing. You're still uncovering and resolving those root causes. But can you speak to as well, like, what it's been like to just be different, to not have, like, the triggers you've resolved, that they're gone? You know, that once you use that bungee cord and you come back up, it's like you did the work forever on that one. Will you speak to your experience on that?
Right. Yes. Right. And knowing that I don't have to go down because of that particular problem ever again, but I know I'm going to go down again. So, and that's really what you're asking me is when I come back up, what's changed and who I am, is recognizing that is life, and you do end up at the bottom of the ocean a lot, especially if you're living the kind of life that I live, which is full of risks and taking big, right? And you're taking big risks and you're making big goals, and when you do that kind of life, it's not going to be like an easy little path. It's going to be mountains and valleys, like constantly. And becoming who I want to be, becoming the person that I need to be in order to navigate that life and make it to the place where I want to be. Yeah, what is it like to be a new person? It's weird because I think about myself, my habit of thinking of myself is still in my conscious thoughts. And then when I'm talking to the coaches and they say, well, what I'm hearing is this is who you are. And I think about it, I'm like, yeah, you know what? All the actions in my life show me that that's who I am. So I need to change the thought. I need to change the conscious thought. And so it really is becoming who I really am. And it's who I really am isn't a conscious thought. And so it takes awareness to realize that I'm not the same person as in my thought. I don't know if I can convey what I'm trying to say there is I am who I am, even though I'm thinking I'm somebody else.
I love what you're pointing to because it goes back to those subconscious beliefs we develop about ourselves that have created our life and our circumstances, that create all our feelings and our thoughts, emotions, and the choices that we make. Those are all negative. That's gotten you to where you are now. And what you're describing is not that you're crazy. What you're describing is a real experience of that process changing. Like you really are naturally behaving in a new way. You really are naturally communicating differently. You're relating to yourself and your kids and other people in your life that there's been issues with differently. Like your triggers are different. They're going away. And that pattern that you thought was real, that you thought was you, that you've been stuck in up till this point, you're now looking at that cycle, that automatic pattern and that voice in your head like, oh, that's not real. I'm not stuck there. That's not who I am. I'm not powerful. I am powerful. You're starting to actually see those patterns and separate yourself from them so that you really are permanently stepping into that new you. And it's coming out in your behavior and your speaking and you're communicating as a natural part of you instead of having to fight. I'm really codependent and I'm going to try really hard not to be. That doesn't work so well, right? I'm really anxious and depressed. I'm going to try to not be and to save this relationship or control that. It's just becoming a part of who you are such that those old patterns seem weird.
Right. And I think it's important to point out here that I haven't actually completed I've only completed one belief switch. And I'm excited to get to the point where I can complete a belief switch, like more than one, because then I think my thoughts will be in alignment with how I feel.
Absolutely.
Because the feeling is there now, but the thoughts haven't changed.
Yep. And what's remarkable is, I'd say you probably have done so far about 30% of the program, and you're going to go complete the rest. I have no doubt. But after 30%, this is your experience.
Right.
It's really remarkable and good job. So, okay, a couple more questions. Then I want to ask what's next, because you're actually up to creating really big things for your life. That's extraordinary from where you're at. You don't just hear people going from here to here. So before we do that, is there anything else that you want people to know or anything else that you want to share about working with us specifically?
Yeah. So I think I've shared it already, but to emphasize that the most important thing that I would counsel people to do on this program is be your authentic. Be authentic. Don't try to live up to anybody's expectations, including your coach's expectations, including the expectations of the program. If it doesn't fit you, say so, because the more authentic you are, the better able the coaches are. And that's what I want to say about the coaches, that when you're really you, and you can really tell, when I could really communicate and honestly communicate, this is where I'm at with what you're expecting of me, then the coaches, I think it's so powerful what the coaches are able to do here, and not just McCall, but everybody that I've worked with. When I said where I'm at, they could say, I hear you, I get that that's authentic. And then there was this perfect balance of knowing just how much information to give me so that I could then create the solution that was specific to me. And I'm going to cry again because it is so, these coaches in the program are so powerful. And just like I said, this perfect balance of coachability, of people knowing how to coach somebody and not give you the answers, but also not just expect you to do it all yourself. It's just, yeah, there's just really remarkable skill at hearing where people are and knowing how to help them.
I love that share, Mary. Thank you. That's fulfilling to hear, but it also really speaks. A lot of people, they look, when they're not committed, when they're not all in, they're like, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know what that is, right? But this work is so different, and that, like you shared, we get to the root cause of where you're at right now, and we create what works right now. It's not, when I say we, it's much less the coaches, as much as coaching you to create what works and is authentic for you. And that's my favorite thing that you shared, was here's where I'm dealing with, or here's what I'm dealing with. And then it was the perfect balance of having you create what worked for you. And that's the golden key. I'm like, how are you going to do that for life, right? That's the golden key, is creating what works for you in any circumstance. So that's a beautiful share. So to wrap up, I'd love if you would share what's next for you and what you're creating out of this, because it really stands out. I mean, a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, I want to go become a coach and heal people, or they come up with what they thought they wanted in the program. That's old news. Mm-hmm. Now, whatever they're really passionate about, like that's way bigger than themselves, they can see. So would you mind sharing what that is for you and what you're out to create next?
Yeah. So I'm a very religious person. I go to church on a regular basis, and I believe in the whole shebang, right? And I don't think it's a fairy tale. I think the faith that I belong to is very practical, and so using the tools from this program, that what works for me right now, actually I'm able to see how this spiritual, they call it Zion, right? That I can use the tools from the program to create my own Zion. Which, utopia is another word for it. Heaven, people might call heaven on earth. The tools from the program merge perfectly with the ideals that I have as a result of the faith that I've been brought up in. One of those ideals is having a family. Like, family is like number one in my faith. And my goal for today, we did our workability program today, and that was building better relationships with my children, which is where it starts. It's the parents and the children is the central family unit. And so that's what I'm working on now. And in my work, in my career path, the family unit is the basic unit of society. And so as you work to perfect your family, the goal is for society to become perfected as well through individual families healing. And I'm working right now, I'm picking up trash with homeless people. That's my job. I get paid to go out with these people and pick up trash. I'm talking with them about their families and about their lives. And it's like being a coach. I'm telling them about the things that I'm learning right now, which I'm not technically a coach. I mean, I'm not like, that's not my profession, and that's not what I want to do with my life. But I do want to build a little Zion, my own little Zion. And so I'm in the place where I'm working right now, I'm sharing with them what I'm learning, and I'm sharing with them how my family is progressing, and talking to them about their relationships. And they can either do what I'm doing or not. But my goal, I started this job and I knew it was really authentic for me. Working in this job was really authentic, and it led me to the creation of what I'm creating right now is something that can scale to a global application. And the plan that I'm writing up, I do want it to be an open source plan just out there for anybody to copy. And I haven't even done it yet, but it's in my head. And I have this huge feeling that I know that as soon as I get the plan implemented and send it out into the, inner space, what is the cyberspace world, for anybody to pick up on, it's totally workable solution. It starts out really small and it scales according to the needs of each individual, just like this program does. So yeah, I want to change the world. And it starts with me and my family. And it starts with the job and my coworkers, my immediate relationships, but then it scales. And I really want the whole world to learn what I've learned, and to apply what I've been able to apply in my life. And where not everybody has all the money to go get a full-time coach, I'm trying to make a plan where it's just life. Just by living your life, you have coaches all around you, because that really is life. You learn from every person that you're with, and they teach you a little bit about yourself, and they teach you tools that they've learned. And there's some really key things that Integrity Wellness has taught me that I think need to enter into the global consciousness and be tools that everybody knows. I mean, if I could get everybody to sign in and go through the Integrity Wellness program, not that everybody could, but that'd be like my goal for before I die, is to get every single person to do an Integrity Wellness program. So.
I love that. Me too.
but and not to take away from your career and your business that you've built up, but to do it in a way where, like I said, it's just because they're living life that they have this. It's like life is their program, and the people that are around them are their coaches, and the people that they can influence, they're a coach for those people. And just to make Integrity Wellness, to make the society that we live in, the traditions that we follow, the culturally politically acceptable things that we do, I want those things to be like the tools and the mindsets that you learn in Integrity Wellness, instead of the crap that we have right now.
Yep.
That stuff is causing all these problems. Just change it, and then the world will be like heaven. The whole world will be heaven. So I really think that you guys have the blueprint for how to make heaven on earth.
I love it. And what we witness as you share is that I see a new person show up who's totally lit up and inspired and on purpose and clear on what you're creating. And what our viewers don't know is you actually have written up and are writing up the plan that's been reviewed by our team. We have programs around business. We work with entrepreneurs and coaches and healers and counselors and all sorts of people in creating enterprises and huge things. That's another part of a side branch of what we do other than working with trauma. And it's so neat that I'll just ask you, what is it like to actually be creating what you're talking about in reality? And one of our last appointments, you said, yes, feasibly, this could happen in 3 months, right?
Yeah.
This is a real thing that's coming out and being created from you.
Right.
What's that
Right.
like?
I think it's probably been my dream for most of my life. You know, like I said, I was born and raised into a faith that I identified with. And being codependent, expecting other people to do it, you know, if I can talk in religious terms, people just talk about Jesus saving you, right? And he just comes down, and I think it was Fairy Godmother, and she just comes down with a magic wand, and she just like turns your rags into a dress, right? And that was kind of my mindset, right? Like Jesus would just come save me. And I've become, oh yeah, you know, I don't want to get too religious, but the scriptures talk about us becoming saviors on Mount Zion. And as a Christian, we're supposed to follow Christ's path. And he is the savior, but we're following him. And so we're like little saviors. And so that's how I feel. I feel like I am participating. I'm not the savior, but I'm doing what he would do if he was like right here next to me. If he was saying, hey, if you put Christ in the Integrity Wellness Program and said, what's your goal? He's like, save the world. Right? And so I'm like part of his team. And wow. So he says, I want to save the world. I'm like, me too. I want to save the world too. And so I mean, you don't put yourself up there and make yourself God, but being on God's team and feeling like you are an angel. I mean, I can't describe any better way for how I feel. And I don't feel like that all the time. Sometimes I feel like I'm at the bottom of the ocean and there's a whirlpool like sucking, like the pressure is holding me onto the bottom of the ocean and I can't breathe and I can't swim. But then there are other times when I feel like I'm an angel and I'm walking on the water. And it's an incredible experience. It's both humbling as well as empowering. And it exists at the same time, this perfect balance between being humbled and powerless, but at the same time having the skills and the tools to use that powerlessness to create a solution, not just for yourself, but for everybody.
Brilliant. I really saw your strength, your power like a warrior, like the warrior woman, right?
Right.
And being able to step into that power to make a difference, not only for your life, but for the world. How your values, what you say you believe, what you say you want, what you say how you want to live, right? All of that becomes real when you have the tools to navigate life. And it's not like life's going to be this magical thing. We're here. It's real life. There's going to be challenges in every relationship, in yourself, in your everywhere. But being able to step in as that angel in your life or for the world, right? As that beacon of light or truth or strength or empowerment. That's the key. I just thank you for sharing. It's palpable for me of like, wow, I like what you got.
Right? In 3 months.
Yeah. By doing 30%.
Right. And I didn't start working right away. I mean, I dabbled for like 6 weeks. I dabbled. And then I worked like for a couple weeks, and then my job prevented me from coming to the things. And so it was 3 months of just kind of taking little bits and pieces of the program. I mean, what would it be possible to do the actual whole program?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's remarkable. And I know you're set up to continue and to finish your program over time and be supportive. I just appreciate your share so much. And I hope that well, I won't hope, I'll turn it into an invitation. Look, if you guys are dealing with anxiety and depression and codependence and getting triggered and pulled down to the bottom of the ocean and feeling powerless, and you know, you don't have a support system and you don't know how it can get any worse, you know, and you're really ready to claim your life and step in and declare 3 months from now, you're where Mary's at, on fire, on purpose, you know, taking charge, taking the reins of her life, creating huge things, not just getting workability. Like, she's creating this massive business plan that can like scale globally. You know, it's really possible for you. And the first step is to get in communication. So I will post a breakthrough, a link to schedule a breakthrough call with our team, so we can really look at you and what you're dealing with and what's working and what's not working, what your goals are. And if you're a good fit and we know we can help you, we'll walk you through what that looks like for you. If not, we'll let you know right up front. We don't take on anybody that we can't help or that we're not the right next step for. So either way, it's a life-changing call. It's where Mary started, and it's going to get you clear on where you're at and where you want to go and what that right next step is for you. So Mary, is there anything else you want to say before we get off today?
No, we said it all.
Well, you should be so proud, and I'm so grateful for you to be that. You're the leader for everyone to know what's possible. And I just know for certain that you can have and you will create everything that's in your heart. And absolutely.
Thank you so much, Nicole. This program is worth a lot more than I paid for it.
That's good to hear. Thank you so much. I hope everybody else has a great day and takes away some amazing things from your share, because there were gold nuggets. And I look forward to talking to you guys all soon. Thank you.
Bye-bye.